Okay, I'm going to try this out for a minute. Hello, hola, this is Paul Densmore coming to you from Dr. Glenn Morris's Kundalini Awakening process. I just finished working out, so I'm going to sit back in my easy chair, and I thought rather than be lazy, I'd go ahead and record a couple of videos. They'll probably be pretty short, hopefully. I'm going to kind of try to freestyle them, so there might be a lot of pauses and ums as my brain catches up with my mouth. And I'm probably looking pretty rough right now as well, but that's okay. So the topic for today, actually there will be 3 topics. And what I'm going to try to do is during each workshop and online class, we tend to get a lot of questions regarding 3 topics. Used to be 2, and now a 3rd one has kind of gotten added in. So I'm going to post these videos, and of course the other KAP instructors will probably have different ideas on some of these. We'll be in agreement on some, and on others we probably won't necessarily see eye to eye, and that's perfectly fine. There's also also realize that all of my thoughts and opinions, since I'm freestyling, are subject to change. Don't put me on the spot, okay? So the 3 topics, I like to call them the 3 F's, and that is the new one is fitness, and then there's food, and then there's sex. And so every single workshop we tend to get questions regarding those 3. So I'm kind of take them in 2 different ways. Number 1, there's the standard answer that we tend to give to all 3 of those. And these come from Dr. Morris, and you can find them all in his books, especially Path Notes. I think all 3 of them will actually be in Path Notes. And I believe all 3 of them are actually on the KAP website as well. But we tend to give those, and they're actually really short. They're just about a sentence long. And most people tend to look a little bit disappointed when we give those. So I generally try to expand upon them a little bit. Generally what most people want are sort of personal opinions rather than big sort of commandments. Even though they're anti-commandments, they're very open. So I'm going to kind of expand on them a little bit, and so that's where my opinions come in. And remember, these are just opinions. So first one we're going to do in this video, now that I've gotten all that out of the way, is going to be fitness. Now the general rule is that to take KAP and participate in KAP, you do not need to be young. You do not need to be in great shape. You do not need to be able to do perfect asanas or stand in a qigong horse stance or holding a tree for an hour. None of that is required. In fact, we've had people who have had knee injuries and literally can't stand and do some of the practices, and that's okay, because KAP is set up in such a way that any level of fitness or degree of health is accounted for. So we have different variations of different qigong practices and meditation practices. So you can be any age, at any level of health, as long as you get your doctor's okay, you know. Always have to put that in there. And mentally sound. That's always a key. So your instructors don't necessarily have to be mentally sound, though. And that is the one that you'll find in Path Notes, and Doc has always given that. Now, with that being said, we tend to say that, and then people just kind of go, oh, okay, right, yeah. They want a little bit more. So I'm actually going to kind of talk a little bit about some of the exercises that I just did, and are really good for Qigong and energy work. And really short, number one, calisthenics. Calisthenics are an excellent adjunct to any sort of internal alchemy. For several reasons. One of the most obvious is that push-ups, pull-ups, squats, even old-fashioned sit-ups. Old-fashioned sit-ups have gotten a bad rep, and I'm here to say that if done properly, if they're done slowly, with the knees well bent, and one vertebrae at a time, both up and down, with the breath, they're actually a good tonic for the back. They're a back rejuvenator and a spinal rejuvenator. So experiment with that if you want. Crunches are out. No. Oh, and also don't pull on the neck. Most people tend to pull on the neck when doing so. I did for a long time when I was in high school and played football and things. I would pull on the neck. Put your arms to the temples, or kind of tuck them into your chest, although that might kind of constrain your chest a little bit and your breathing. So temples are always good. And all of those movements actually free up the muscles. They work the ligaments more than most of the gym exercises, although you don't necessarily want to pull so much on the ligaments, but condition them. The joints. There tend to be a lot of energy blockages within the joints due to not using them enough. We tend to be pretty sedentary and stationary these days. So, a lot of us tend to have joint problems, myself as well. I have slight knee problems that are working out the more that I do calisthenics and exercises. So each time I shave a little bit of that off and kind of reclaim my youth a little bit. So they're great conditioners for all of those, and they really free up. If you go back to one of the classic sets of sort of yogic exercises, or the 5 Tibetan rites, or sometimes called the 5 Tibetans, or sometimes the 5 rites, or there are various other names that don't even take those into account. But those are basically just calisthenics exercises. Takes on more of the back bends and everything would be taken more from, and table makers, taken more from yoga than actually, say wrestlers' bridges, which I actually do. I think that they're a great spinal conditioner and back conditioner. I mean, the more that you strengthen the back muscles, the longer you can actually, hold yourself erect. And I don't mean with just walking around with the usual slouch and everything. I mean actual erectness within the muscles. So calisthenics, good. And keep it simple, push-ups, squats. If you can do a pull-up. If not, There are great progressions that you can look up. I'm not going to name any websites, but you can do a search for pull-up progressions, and there'll be a lot of good ones. You can use a chair and put your feet on a chair and pull yourself up, and with your feet on the chair, sort of not so much assisting, but sort of stabilizing the weight so that you're not pulling so much up at one time. Then you would take one leg off. And remember, there's a pull-up, which is holding your arms this way, holding your hands this way, and a chin-up, which is the reverse. And they'll work slightly different muscles, although they are generally a great conditioner for the shoulders, which tend to hold an awful lot of our attention, the chest and the shoulders and the neck. Especially people in the West, we tend to hold a lot there. Also in the pelvis as well. Squats are very good for that. They are very, if you're into Reikian body work, these are equatable. In fact, I used to do Reikian body work for a long time to sort of free up and body tension and armoring. And now I just do calisthenics because they're roughly equatable, and you can get a better bod with calisthenics than with Reikian bodywork. Most of those guys tend to have a nice little paunch or something. Not to say that I don't, but it's going away. Let me see. Oh, and then another pull-up progression would be after the one leg pull-up, you would do what's called a reverse pull-up or a negative pull-up. But anyway, and you can also start off with rows, dumbbell rows, and then body rows, sometimes called Australian pull-ups. That's a whole nother thing. You can look all those up. Now, as far as weights go, I'm not going to go so much into a routine. I'm just going to give you some things that go very well with energy work. Number one, Indian clubs. Look those up if you don't know what they are. Start off with the 2-pound Indian clubs. That might not sound like much, but you're using that rotational energy, and so it's the majority of the workout is actually coming from the wrists, the forearms, the elbows, and the shoulders, as well as freeing up the chest. It's a wonderful device for freeing up the chest as well, doing chest openers and various other exercises, Indian club exercises. So you can look into those. Kettlebells, of course, both Teo and myself highly recommend kettlebells. In fact, the last workshop that we taught, Teo actually brought his kettlebell. I did as well. We both actually brought our kettlebells and had them there. And at one point, I have no idea for what reason, Teo actually stopped the workshop and went, grabbed his kettlebells and started doing swings. I will give a plug for a guy, since he's not actually charging anything. You can find his videos on YouTube. His name is Zen Kahuna. He's an older gentleman in his 60s, and he does very primal, naturalistic odd training, which is great, which I gravitate towards. So I'll give him a little plug. And he does excellent kettlebell work. The rotational movements and everything that he does is just simply amazing, adding them into all the swings. He also does Indian clubs and pretty much everything else that I work out with. Bulgarian training bag. Look that up. You can buy yours for like $200, or you can make one for, I think I made 2 for $20, so $10 a piece. Again, your choice. Mace work, like the old-fashioned weapon, M-A-C-E, not the spray, but the old-fashioned blunt object that you would beat against somebody's head in a row or an argument. And again, it's one that you can make your own, which I very much enjoy. you can buy one again for, you know, maybe $100 to $200, or I think I made mine for $10. So yeah, I'm very big on making my own tools as well. Another controversial one that most people don't recommend within the sort of the return to old school physical culture, or even primal exercises or play, which again I gravitate towards those two, are dumbbells. And I include dumbbells because they were the staple of the old-time strongmen, and actually lightweight dumbbells. I actually use 5 pounds heavier than the old strongest of the old guys like Eugene Sandow. They recommend working out every day with 5 or 10 pound dumbbells, and this is for men. But doing like hundreds of repetitions of a single exercise, and then stacking them all together with very little breaks in between. I gravitate towards three men and their dumbbell routines, and that is Eugene Sandow, of course, and you can look all these up for free now. They have all their books online, and have some interesting things that are just now sort of starting to come back into what now is called bodybuilding, but used to be physical culture. I like physical culture better because it's kind of more holistic. But things like cold showers, paleo, or even a ketogenic paleo diet. You know, these things are starting to come back. If you go back and you look at Charles Atlas and guys like that, he basically talked about a sort of sugar busters diet, you know, if you remember that. And all of them pretty much followed the sort of Atkins diet to some degree. Some of the strongmen didn't, you know, they ate pretty much whatever, and you can kind of tell they've got a little bit of a wheat belly going on around there. And we'll talk more about that in the food section that's coming up in the next video. But you can look, Eugene Sandow, Farmer Burns, and Arthur Saxon, those three. And from Saxon, I mainly get the Saxon side bends, and you can search for that and actually look for videos rather than having to dig through their books and things. But excellent exercises, work very well with energy work. But even just calisthenics, and these are slow calisthenics, not the endurance type calisthenics that you think of today. That's, you know, doing like 5 million push-ups within a minute. You know, do them slow and work those muscles and actually feel every single muscle that's going as you do a push-up. You know, so even if you can do 100 push-ups, if you do them really slow, like maybe 2.5 seconds up, 2.5 seconds down, and not using momentum, but actually using the muscles, you'll kind of be a little humiliated because you probably won't be able to do as many, but you're getting stronger. So, you know, the payoff. You might not be as flashy, but you're actually conditioning the muscles better. Again, these are opinions. Some people will disagree with me, and I'm sure very publicly disagree with me, and that's fine. It matters very little to me. Okay, so we're going to end that there. And you can always find me on Facebook. I'm always more than happy to talk about KAP or exercising, strangely enough, or pretty much anything. And so if you have any questions, you can message me on Facebook, add me as a friend and message me, or just message me if you don't feel like being my friend. That's okay. I like to have a small group of friends anyway, although it is growing all the time. Okay, so that's it for this video. Onward to video 2 and food and sex. Okay, pushing the button now.